Welcome to another Ask Fred session where you ask your entrepreneurial questions and Fred shares his wisdom, but you're probably wondering who this Fred is that I'm talking about. Most of you already know Fred Cary, who is CEO of IdeaPros. Welcome, Fred.
Hey there. Hi. How's everybody?
Well, it looks like they're popping in and they say hello already. So I'm Tessa. I'm the director of marketing at IdeaPros. And we do this segment occasionally just because a lot of questions build up for you, Fred, over time. And we want to share your wisdom. So we have questions in the queue. But if you have a question and you want to ask it live today, go ahead and put it in the chat. And if we have time, we'll get to any questions that you guys are adding. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Sean. And they range anything from questions about how to raise funds to naming actually today. And so we're going to dive in with a question about money, actually a couple questions about money. So Fred, in your opinion, is it better to bring in investors or borrow money?
Nobody ever asked me questions about my childhood.
Occasionally we get some fun ones.
maybe we'll have a special session here next month. Those questions are really kind of open-ended and it's different for everybody. So why don't I talk about the benefits and the detriments of each? When you borrow money, you control everything, right? You don't have any shareholders, you don't have anybody trying to dictate the way you do things, and you can run your own ship. The downside of borrowing money, of course, is paying money back. And you have to be able to do that. And you have to be able, when you're first starting out a business, personal guarantee, that is pretty much the standard. So that means with your new business, with no assets, a bank or whoever the lender is, SBA, Angel Group, whoever's going to give you capital that you can use, but that you have to pay back, they're going to want your personal guarantee. And so if things don't work out, and a lot of times they don't in a brand new venture, or at the very least, they don't work out at the speed that you expect them to, because things always take way longer, then you're stuck with your personal guarantee and your assets at risk, and you have to go out and borrow more money in order to avoid having a lawsuit against you. So equity instead of debt is really good in the very beginning if you have especially people who are close to you, people who really believe in what you're doing, and people who are supportive. It's good because, number one, you don't pay it back. If it's equity, they're buying a piece of the company. And number two, they are likely to be people who can support you and help you and do odd jobs with you and be part of the team once you start growing to the point that it makes sense to bring on other people. So it's a balancing act. One, you have control, but a lot of risk. The other one, you have a little bit less control, but typically when you're bringing in investment dollars in the beginning, you're 15%, 20% of your company. So you still remain largely in control at that point. It's a toss up. It depends on your risk tolerance.
And I'm going to throw another item in there, and that's grants, because we just did a presentation a couple weeks ago on grants. So that's another way that people can get funding too. And we can give you guys a link to get more on grants in the chat. So I'm going to put that in there. It's a phone number and you can text grants to it, and it sends you a link and information of a recording that we did about getting grants for your business.
Yeah, and you have to, there's specific things. It has to have a purpose that a grant could likely be gotten for.
Innovation.
But the good thing about grants is it's just free money. Yeah, it's neither equity nor is it debt. They give you the money. It's a grant. It's for you. It's like, when your dad used to give you an allowance, or mom. You don't have to do anything. In this case, not even mow the lawn.
So definitely check that out if you guys have missed our grant show, and lots of information in that one. It's in the chat too. Mm-hmm. So we have another question about raising funds, and it's more on the app side. And so we have Brenda with Trellis asked, what stage is it good to start contacting investors for an app? We're just
We,
throwing some curveballs in there for Fred today.
yeah, no, I was thinking of something that is an app. It's a web app that we have one of our partners has launched, something called
Oh,
Excel,
yes.
and they did their beta testing, and then they went out to raise money. In fact, they're actively raising money right now in WeFunder,
Mhm.
and it's not even public yet. They're still in the private stage of raising capital. They've already raised over $100,000, and they're raising the money at a $3.5 million valuation. So here's a company that doesn't quite have the finished product yet, but they're really well along their way. They've done extensive beta tests. The partner in this question has worked her butt off. Every week she'll send me a big long report of the things that she's doing that week. So she's very, very well prepared. And I think well prepared is when you should be going out. So what does that mean? You have to know your marketplace. You have to know the size, the growth, the potential, how you're going to monetize it, how you're better than anything else. You got to be able to show that there's a real need for what you have and show your ability to execute it. If you can show that you're prepared, you can raise money on a napkin. You don't have to. You don't have to have a functioning app, but to be safe, I would at least have the front end of my app that show all the different screens, the user experience, and I would really, as I said, be prepared, know your story, know what you're asking for, why you're asking for that much, what you're going to do with the money, how long it's going to take you to do the things you want to do.
Perfect. Very good. And I did put a link in there if you guys want to see Join Exhal's website and the WeFunder campaign in case you're interested in investing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So the next question we have is from one of our product partners, and she asks, with everything going on around us and price changes, everything going up, is it still good to launch during this time, or should we wait?
Yeah. That's a really good question, and it's a really hard answer. Number one, we don't know how long this is going to be going on. Number two, you know that people still have to buy things even when we have these price increases, this increasing inflation, conflict in Europe, COVID rearing its ugly head again in certain places of the world, shipping issues, cost issues, transportation issues because of gasoline prices. So many things are happening everywhere you turn your head that you don't know for sure. This could be the new normal. So how long are you going to wait? So I would really look at the competitive environment that you're in, see what your competition is selling things for, because they may have huge inventory of stuff that they bought and delivered here prior to all these issues, so they can still sell it at a price point that is way better than what you're going to be able to sell for. So can you be competitive? If you can be competitive, then you can go to market. If it looks like it's going to be hard for you to be able to sell something at a price that, number one, is competitive with your competitors, and number two, a price point that consumers will still buy even though it's higher. So do a little research, figure it out, and then go or slow.
Excellent suggestion. So Keith asks, what is the toughest thing about going public?
Well, number one is being stupid enough to do it, like I am. The hardest thing about being public, well, there's so many hard things about it, and there's so many benefits. Because first, I'll talk very briefly on the benefits. When you go public, your stock becomes your currency. You can make acquisitions. You can grow not just organically. You can pick up other companies with your paper that can help you grow your organization. And also, in a case, and this is unique to IdeaPros, in the case of IdeaPros going public, it's also really good for all of our partners because it gains more notoriety for us. And every single time that a partner launches, it's newsworthy. So it would be a press release that we would issue and then the world would know about that new product, or however many people are going to follow the company once it goes public. But the real hard thing about going public is, number one, preparing for it. You have to have 2 years worth of audited returns. That's $75,000 to $100,000. You have an auditor, pardon me, up your butt for 2 or 3 months, the period of time. You have securities lawyers that are helping you. My securities lawyer is costing me $1,400 an hour to do the type of work that has to be done. You have to deal with the SEC and all of their regulations and their pushback, and this comma's in the wrong place, and just mind-boggling how much minutia is involved in it. And then you have to be prepared to go public, and that's the easy part. Once you go public, it's like you're running 2 different companies. You have your long-term vision about what you want to do as an organization, how you want to grow that company, what things you want to do, what things you want to stop doing, the progress that you want to have over the next 3 years. But then you have another company. You have your company with your shareholders, right? It's the same company, but it's a whole nother value system. Your shareholders want to see every single quarter, what have you done? Have you done better than you said you were going to do? And so the horizon for shareholders is really, really small, when it should be like this, because you can lose money on purpose during a month or 2 because you need to divest of things. You need to change the direction you're going in order to get here over the period of a year. The shareholders and your analysts that follow you and your institutional money that support you still have this very small horizon. So you have to worry about the ups and downs of your stock price. You're constantly supporting your price. It costs you probably $500,000 to $750,000 just in reporting and compliance and attorneys and auditors every single quarter, because you have to do a 10Q every quarter. At the end of the year, you do a 10K, which is an annual form for everybody. They're very detailed, and it's a lot of work. Again, there are really good benefits to it, but it's like you're running 2 companies instead of 1.
Wow. Definitely sounds like a lot of work. And I know
Yeah,
I
think I just changed my mind.
Well, we did talk about WeFunder on a show too. So we had a presentation about that, and that's a little bit different, right? The fundraising that you do with WeFunder is a little less strict. Is that right?
It's a lot different because you are technically public under one of the regulation subsets that the SEC monitors. However, your shareholders can't sell their shares. There's no trading for those shares. They're basically holding on, waiting for an event to happen. And that event is either you go really public, or you get acquired by another company, or you decide as an organization to try to pay everybody off. But other than that, it's kind of pseudo-public. There's just no, once a year, you can send a report to your shareholders on how you're doing, and you don't even have to do that. So it's kind of like, has some of the benefits of going public without actually technically being public, in a sense of being into a trading marketplace. And what's really cool about that, it's the same thing. It's crowdfunding for products, right? When people want to buy your Cupid doll that you haven't even made yet in the crowdfunding campaign, they're really buying as much to support you and to help fund you because of the pride they have of helping somebody else, as they are to be the first on the block to get this new Cupid doll that might not be delivered for 8 or 9 months. That same mentality of supporting the founder works in this equity-based crowdfunding as well. So when people get the shares, you typically want to give them some perk, either Cupid doll, a t-shirt or hat or backpack, or you get them. If you have an app, maybe they're listed as founding members of the app. There's some other perk that goes along with them holding the shares that they hold, and those shares are basically, they go in a drawer, and hopefully someday they're going to be worth something.
Yeah, I like it. The crowdfunding for business is really exactly what you were just describing, like a token of your appreciation that's going to go out to them, or credit, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So then next question, let's see how best to explain this. So we have someone with an app and they are going to be launching. They're trying to figure out if they should launch in a small area or in a big area. And this is, I'm combining two questions. So Cynthia, I know you have this question and we have it on the app side. We have it also as a product side. So would it be better to start small and then go big?
Oh, well, that's a lot better than going big than going small.
Right, you can't do the opposite.
So,
From the app perspective, we'll start with that.
well, it depends on whether you want to have small problems or big problems. Okay. When you first launch, there is shit happens. And in the case of a launch of any type of company, that is not good shit. It's bad shit. And if you have an app, there are going to be bugs. There are going to be certain phones that it's not going to work on. There's going to be glitches in the system. It happens to everybody. I hired years ago, I hired a quality control director from Microsoft. In Microsoft, their FAQs, they internally would call them the fuck yous instead of FAQs, because that's how everything they put out were things that needed additional work on them, and they let the consumers tell them what was broken. So you want to figure out what's broken in the smallest area you can, that also really validates what you're trying to do. And that's really powerful from a number of ways. Number one, you're not going to get a gazillion one-star reviews if there are issues, right? You'll have a few, you'll deal with them, you'll thank people, and you'll show how you made an improvement. And number two, it's really good validation that you can control, because you're dealing with a small enough area that it's just not out of your hands. So if you pick a target area that you feel warm and fuzzy about, that you have knowledge about, and that you can even go to coffee shops and talk to people about it in the area because you live there, that's always a good way to try to do things. There are other things that, depending on the type of app you have, it's really hard to do a really small area, right? If you're doing a delivery app, for example, you can't do it in a 5-block section. I guess you could, but you want to at least pick a metro area to do it in, so that your likely target customer, wherever they are in that area, because they're going to see your ads. Because even when you try to take an ad and really myopically focus in a certain area, everybody in that metro area is going to see it. So you want to pick a metro area to go into. So therefore, you don't want to pick New York or Los Angeles. You want to, even San Diego, you want to pick a smaller mid-market area that you can easily control, test it out there. And by the way, if things work really well, another benefit is you're going to be able to show investors, this is what I set out to do. This is where I went and tried it out. These are the results. Now I want to bring it all over the country. Now it's tangible. People can see it. Same thing with physical products as well. You know, if you have physical products are easier in a sense, but if you have a specialized product and you want to try it out in your neighborhood first, so you can get feedback from merchants. If you're having merchants sell it for you, that's a really good thing to do. But nowadays, you can sell on Amazon and you're selling all over the country literally overnight. I mean, we have a little product this big that I don't get it, but the reality is we put it on Amazon and we're selling the crap out of it with zero advertising, and I don't understand why. But people want it, they're buying it, they're finding it.
Right. Because people want to transfer liquids. You guys should check it out. It's Squeeze. Squeezeco.com. But actually go search on Amazon and look for liquid. I think we did liquid transfer or something like that. But check it out. See if you can find it on Amazon. It would be super helpful for the entrepreneur if you can find it. For sure. It's Squeeze Co. It's yellow. You'll see it. Awesome. Thank you, Fred, for that answer. And I have Actually, I did want to say that geotargeting is very effective when you're working with those areas that you're advertising to. So you can zero in on literally that metro area for your original ads as well as your retargeting ads. So you can confine your reach pretty well. But you can't do it's not easy to do a 5-block area. You kind of have to say city name
Right.
or zip codes.
Unless you're selling lemonade from a lemonade stand, then you can focus on one little area.
Right, exactly. So let's see. We have a question. It is along the same line, but it is as far as an app. If your app is supposed to go to restaurants, would you focus in on individual restaurants or go corporate? And it's a new app. We'll put it that way.
Those are rough questions too, because it depends on what that app does and what you need to. For example, if you're going corporate and you have a chain that has 67 restaurants around the United States and they say yes, then you need to have a solution for all 67 of those restaurants. And that solution typically involves customers, right? You're doing something for those restaurants, presumably interacting with the restaurant's customers in some way. That means that you have to go to every one of those locations and have customers that are on your app that could interact with it. So again,
a lot of advertising dollars.
Well, a lot of advertising dollars and a lot of work to find people around the country. So again, start small, grow bigger. Everybody wants to be the next Airbnb. When I've said this before, when Airbnb started, I think they had 2 air mattresses that they were renting out for the weekend in San Francisco. The 2 apartments that the guys had for like $20 a night, and it was. It was called Air Bed and Breakfast because of the air mattresses. So that's how big they started. The 2 little apartments in one very confined city area. So be careful that if you can go corporate and fulfill what they're going to need, then by all means do it. If it's going to create this crushing demand on you that you don't know whether you can pull off, then start smaller, pick a couple of local places to go, build up your audience, and then figure out the strategy that you need to take it nationwide.
Awesome. And we did have a show about beta testing. So I highly recommend before you do any of that, you can find your list and build it up and get it into a nurturing system. But before you actually put your app out to all those people, make sure that you go through the beta test process and thoroughly test everything. I will link that show in the chat. So that is a show about how to beta test, strategically beta test. Awesome. Okay, so how important, Richard asks, how important is the company name opposed to the features and operations?
I don't think that they're independent of each other. Okay, but the company name is what is going to set you apart in the first place. Your company name is part of the essence of what you're trying to project, and company names that are memorable are going to let people be more likely to find you and to remember who you are and remember what you have. That's why companies with names like Apple have done so well. That's why companies like Virgin Airlines have done so well. Memorable, bizarre names if you think about it. Apple for a computer, Virgin for an airline, kind of crazy names, but they're really, really memorable, and that makes them really, really powerful. And I've told the story before about Blue Ribbon Sports. Blue Ribbon Sports would probably not exist today, but reluctantly the owner agreed after a year of wrangling to change their name to Nike. And if it was Blue Ribbon Sports, they probably would not have gotten anywhere. So in that sense, the name means everything. And, even in our business, the type of naming exercise we do, the branding, positioning, naming, logo, tagline, it's a ton of work. And sometimes some partners don't appreciate it. I mean, I've heard like, well, we've been doing this for 6 months and all I got is a research report and a name. Well, the type of naming exercise that we do, you can go to New York or Los Angeles and have naming companies do them, $150,000, $250,000 all day long. It's a lot of research, when we name something, we've probably gone through 50 names before we get to the point where we've picked one, and it has to be memorable, it has to be clever, it has to put us apart from the competition, because you want to come out fresh, different, you're the new kid on the block, and you want to stand out. So that's really, really important. However, to the second piece of your question, if you don't have the good stuff that goes along with your name, that name's not going to mean anything for after a while, because if you're delivering junk, a great name's not going to help you. A great name is just to get people to look at what you have, buy it, then be impressed by it, so they buy more.
Perfect. So I have last question on our list, and then I'm going to look over in the chat. I know we had a couple questions over there, and this question is awesome. I find it hard to juggle so many things at once. Many days I feel like I'm hitting alligators that are the closest to the boat. You seem to have mastered this. Any tips on prioritizing tasks or managing a daily schedule?
Yeah, sleep 3 hours. That will do it. But besides that, if you can't get away with doing that, the best way to do it. And by the way, I'm not that great at it. I have 3 people assisting me with things, so I could never do this on my own. I got people helping me with my email, people helping me with my social media, people helping with my schedule, reminding me that, hey, you promised somebody something a couple of years ago, and you still haven't done it. And having that support staff around you really helps. But if you don't have that, try to compartmentalize your day. So one of the guys who works here has decided he's only going to check email 3 times a day, which I'm still pissed off about, but that's really going to help him, because he's not going to have those distractions, and he knows that 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, those are the times that I'm going to check my email. So if you take your daily calendar and set aside times during that day, block off times where you're going to do certain things. In this 2-hour section, I'm going to send emails out. In this 2-hour section, I'm just going to work on the fires that I have to deal with. In this 2-hour section, I'm going to work on new projects, and just kind of memorialize your day on your calendar with certain things that you do at certain times. That really helps you have the structure to be organized and do things a lot better. So good old-fashioned calendar that's your best friend if you want to manage a busy schedule.
I love it. And I know I see Odin over there, and I'm going to ask your question right now, or I should say in a moment. But one of the activities that Odin had me do as my business coach, as my marketing coach, he had me literally write down what I was doing every 15-minute chunk of a day. And I was able to see, oh, I am checking email too much. I am going back to email like every hour and then getting distracted, or I am spending too much time in meetings. So I know Fred told me this when I had too many meetings going on. He's like, shorten your meetings, go down from half an hour to 15 minutes. So you're not spending as much time on those, and just be more efficient about the time that you have on those meetings, like have an agenda and make sure they're ready for it. So there's a lot of things you could do for sure.
Yeah, and that reminds me of one of my favorite sayings that I've really only heard it a year ago, and it instantly became my favorite saying because it really makes you think for a second. And it's an apology, and the apology is, I'm sorry I wrote you such a long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one. and the reality is that the more time you can think about things and compartmentalize the stuff that you need to do and really hone in and focus on what you need to deliver, your message is shorter because it's concise, compact, on point, and asks for solutions in a very short period of time. So use an economy of words and use ones that are really powerful. Don't go, how was your day? You don't care how their day was. You just want to know why they haven't ordered from you before or again. right? So
That's
brevity.
definitely an option. I think those little daily greetings, they take too much time. We should just skip them.
Yeah. They do. You know,
So
how are
how
you? I'm here to inform you you're 120 days late on your payment. Well, then why do you want to know how I am? Just keep it short. Get to the point.
True. So Odin has a question. How much time should a business owner spend on marketing their idea?
Every minute of every day.
Fact.
Yeah, it's marketing is the foundation of your organization, the foundation of anything you're going to do. Because what is it? You're communicating your brand and your brand's products and or services to the world, and so that's a nonstop job. When you're sleeping, you better have ads running, doing the same thing that you're doing while you're awake. When you're meeting somebody in a restaurant, it's not a bad opportunity to talk about the business you have or the brand new app that you think would be cool for them and all their friends to download. So I say 24 hours a day is how long you should spend marketing what you have.
Wonderful. And we have a 101 marketing idea list for you. So if you feel like you don't know what to do next, you can pick any of those items out of there and start marketing for your business on a shoestring budget. So
Yeah, and I like to point out some of our partners sometimes, and Jay, who's one of our partners with Renegade, he's out talking to everybody day and night about his original product, about all the other products that he's building out, making connections, dealing with celebrities, dealing with manufacturers, dealing with investors, just day in there dealing with people who are likely targets of the products that he has, just feeling all day long in the marketplace. What's going on? What can I do? How can I tell more people about what I have? This is not easy. And I say that all the time. Being an entrepreneur is not easy, and it's not fast. You see these overnight stories that took 20 years to get there. Like Google was hopeless for a decade before they really started making their name known. And now, obviously, it's a household word. Everybody Googles things. They don't ask Jeeves things, or they don't Yahoo things. They Google things, and that's a process. We all can't be the next Google, but even to get to a point where you go to sleep really happy because you got all this money coming in and everybody's buying your product, it takes time. So just understand that, number one, and be happy with these little milestones along the way. Grab what you can with the budgets that you have. Celebrate when you make your first dollar. Forget about when you make your first million. Celebrate that first dollar, because that first dollar tells you somebody wants my stuff and they're willing to pay for it. That's the breakthrough that you have to have. And then it's a climb from there.
I love it. And Jay says it's mostly fun. So marketing as business is mostly fun. I think he's picked, when you pick something you're passionate about too, it makes it a lot easier to talk about, to be passionate, to wear. I mean, he has attire, he has t-shirts and hats and all kinds of merchandise that he's wearing on a regular basis. It's easy to bring up for him. So definitely. Thank you so much, Fred. And actually, I have to put this up. Odin says, thank you. Awesome, Fred. And we have, yes, Martin says, keep on trucking. You have to keep on trucking no matter what on your marketing. So I will let you go, Fred, but thank you again for letting us borrow you for this Ask Fred session. We covered a lot of information. Oh, yep. Steve Brown says, thanks so much and have a happy Easter, everyone. Thank you.
And happy Hanukkah too. Is it Hanukkah around this time too? Not Hanukkah. What is the other one?
No, I'm trying to remember. Tell me if you know in the chat, guys, what other holidays. I know we have a lot right now, but we just
Passover.
Appreciate you. Passover. There we go. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Fred. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. So I'm going to take a second. I saw you guys over in the chat, and I know we have a lot of partners with that are in our audience that have websites right now. So I just want to take a minute to recognize those partners over there. I know we have Sean Reed, and he has an Instagram channel that he's building up, but it's sagescheduler.com. And I'm sure he'll put his chat in there. We have Jay with renegadecore.com. You can go check out his website, and he helps to set people up with home gyms, and soon to be has his own product line too. And we have, I think we have there it is. Thanks, Sean. Okay, sagescheduler.com. He's on Instagram as well. If I thought I saw Aziza, but maybe she left already. But if you do have a site, we have Join Exhale. I put that in the chat. That's one of our partners, Wendy, as well. And guys, we just appreciate you taking the time to spend with us on these Fridays. We're here at noon Pacific time every Friday. If you have any topics that you want us to cover, anything that you're going through and you want some help, if we don't have the expertise in our staff, then we find the person who has that expertise. Like we brought in WeFunder, we brought in SBIR for grants. If you need something, let me know, because we want this to be an amazing resource for all entrepreneurs, not just our partners and not just the people who are, are able to, are already producing their product or app. If you're just thinking about it and you have a napkin idea and you're curious what to do next, we can help. So you can check out our website, which is IdeaPros.com, and you can go to the blog section, IdeaPros.com/blog, and check out tons and tons and tons of information. There is a tag system down the side, so you can find anything that you want, how marketing related, if it's funding related, all of that information is on our website. So you can go to ideapros.com/blog, and there's videos up there too. So just like this, we publish them on our website after the show, so you can gather up all that information. But we are on Facebook and YouTube, and Fred Cary is official Fred Cary on Instagram. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend, a blessed weekend. I'm saying that. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.